Hey, what's up? It's Travel Chronicles, chapter 52, 53, somewhere in there. And today, funny story from the weekend, right? So, where I've been talking about, if you're coaching a high school team, you know, these young kids, 15 to 18 years old, you can't sit there and look, you know, from the preseason, from off-season conditioning, and go, here's my 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and that's how it's going to be the whole season, no changes ever. And that's how you play, right? And I understand, like, some of the team sports with basketball, volleyball, or whatever, or you know, maybe like football, just because you're limited on the number of people that you can put out there. But you know, especially basketball, volleyball, because I've watched those games more. And if you have a lot of kids that are in that same range, like, you know, you may have a stud player, right? You may have one or two just absolute studs that, okay, you know, they're varsity players, no doubt about it. Nothing's going to change there. And then you get down to 3, 4, 5, 6 in volleyball, and it's like, well, you know, how much better is 6 than 7? How much better is 5 than 6? You know, is it night and day difference? Or is it, ooh, that's a close one. Like, some teams could just legitimately have their starters and that's it. You know, you've seen that. Like the Chino Hills basketball team, one of the best high school basketball teams ever. They had 5 guys. That was it. And that's how they played. So, you know, but most other teams, you know, you're lucky to have 2. And then the other 5, 6 guys, you know, the next few people are like whatever. Well, cross country is the one sport where I would say, you know, the off-season conditioning, you know, you see people run over years. You know where they're going to be, especially on certain courses, you know, certain weather conditions, like this person's good, this person's not as good. And you know that. And going and most of the time, and under coronavirus, it's been different this year, but most of the time you can just run everybody on your team. However they finish. And that's what you got for that day. And as a player, as a kid, you get what you get. You earn what you get in that sport. Well, this weekend was one of the craziest things in cross country that I've ever seen, because they had 36 teams in the race, and they'd broken it up so 12 teams were competing against each other. So there was 3 different, what they called flights, or essentially heats. And then they were going to combine everybody at the end and put them together. Well, the flight that we were in, we were probably the best team. The other good team in it that was in our district that we were going against, we beat them last year. And we have all of our kids back except one. Our number 5 guy graduated last year. Other than that, you have 6 of your top 7, 7 of your top 8 coming back. So this should just be academic at this point. Well, high school kids being high school kids, and you not knowing what they do, are, you know, normally number 5 guy, and there's some fluidity to our team. Okay, we don't have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. You know, you've got 1, 2, 3, and 4, and one of the boys is kind of distinguishing himself. Maybe as more the one guy. He's run number 1 a couple of different courses now. As a junior, consistently being better. You know, different conditions. He's doing much better. And he's always been in the top. He's been in that top mix. So it's not like he came out of nowhere. And then you've got Elijah right around 2. And, you know, maybe he's finished as far back as 4. But he's in that 1, 2, 3 mix. Him and another senior. And then you've got another boy who's finished as high as 3rd. And as low as, I think, 5th. Maybe 4th. You know, so he's right in that range. So your top 4 is pretty solid. They can be fluid, but they're pretty solid. There's another senior. He's usually, you know, he can go anywhere from 1 to 4 or 5, because he did finish 5th on Saturday. So you got, in the next three guys, 5, 6, and 7, 5 is probably better than a 6 and a 7. And, 6 and 7, they're just, it kind of depends on how they're feeling that particular day. Usually 6 is better than 7. That's why they're that number, right? So Saturday, how you like that hair? Got a haircut there a week or so ago. They come out, and we're in a fight we should win. And there's no really distinguished runners, that I can see coming into this heat where it's like, oh man, this kid's a sub 17 runner, which is a really good time. And I think one of the other boys is looking at it going, yeah, there's no, just beast runner here. I may be able to get out front, and he wants to get his picture taken out front leading the race. Senior, last year. Good opportunity. Most of the next races, you're probably going to have a sub 17 kid in there. So you're not going to have that opportunity. This is spread out. There's only 12 teams in the field. Even if you go out and completely wreck yourself, your team's good enough that you should still do well. I'm thinking that's his mindset. But here's the thing, right? When he goes out, my son sees him go out. And maybe somebody's just having a great day. Maybe they're just feeling great. I mean, you don't know, right? Because it's cross country. Different courses, different conditions. Well, he sees him go out and he's thinking, what's wrong with me? Because you don't have that normal person that you're used to running against. And he's looking over here at this guy that normally finishes, 3 or 4 places back on the team. Why is he in front of me? Why is he in front of me? And my son's competitive for first mile, second mile, end of the race. Like, he wants every spot he can get the whole race. And in cross country, that's not how that sport works all the time necessarily. So this kid goes out flying for the expressed purpose that he would find out later to get his picture taken leading the race. And this was the right race to do that. I'm not going to argue that. This was definitely the right race to do that. But the motivations, the mentality to do something like that causes other people to do things they wouldn't normally do or run their race. So my son sees him going out. He's like, oh no. You're not faster than me. So he pushes himself to get back in front. Well, in the meantime, they're running this super fast. I mean, it's like 16:30 pace is what they're coming through at. Maybe between 16:30 and some sub 17 time. But I mean, they're flying because this kid wants to be pictured leading the race, and my son doesn't want him. Not that he knows that he's going to try to lead the race, he just doesn't want him in front of him. Well, the kid that's trying to lead the race, he leads it for maybe he's at least in front at the half a mile mark. Okay, by the time they come around to 3/4 of a mile or close to a mile, he's in 5th or 6th. Like, he's faded that far that in that little bit of time because these other guys are able to maintain that pace, and that's what cross country is. Like, you settle into your pace, you run your pace for 3 miles, and you get what you get. And if you try to do more than what you can, especially early in a race, like, you could hold a little bit back and then sprint the last half mile or something, or go all out the last half mile and maybe improve your spot, and then maybe you could have done better if you'd have run at a little bit faster pace the entire race. But most people come out, know what they can run, and they'll try to run. The good runners run as fast as they can the whole race. If you have a lot left at the end of the race, you haven't run as hard as you could have. So this boy's dying at this point, and they're 3/4 of a mile into the race. They still have 2.25 miles left. Well, Elijah didn't realize what he was doing. He didn't want to go out that fast. So now he starts fading a little bit. Not quite as bad as this other guy. But, he was in first at one point, and then I think coming around the back side of the school in that first mile, he was second or third. And then you just kind of see him gradually dropping back. 4th, 5th. He ends up finishing 5th, but if there was another 10 feet left in that race, the kid who was 6th was probably going to catch him. That's how he was coming along. But anyway, he was tired. He was dog tired at that point because he spent so much energy at the beginning of the race. Then my son found out why that kid did that. Oh, and the kid who was leading the race and wanted his picture taken, he finished 7th on the team. Normally he's the number 5 guy, but he finished 7th, like a 20-minute time. Like not even like just he really pushed himself and finished with a PR. No, like he gassed out and had a horrible race for a picture op. And because of the way he ran and what it forced some of the other boys to do, so the other senior, he ends up finishing 5th. And normally he's in the top 3 or 4. And you had the 6th man finish 3rd because he actually ran his race and ran a good race. So he beat 3 of the guys he normally doesn't beat. You still had your top 2 guys, but the second guy was gassed because he ran the first mile in a way that he didn't want to run it. So he had to get... You just don't recover from that in the middle of a race. It's like, oh, you went out hard for a mile? Okay, you still have to run 2 more miles. Oh, yikes. You can't just stop and catch your breath or walk really fast for 30 seconds. You don't have that luxury. But I bet that other kid walked at some point during that race. I bet he stopped. I bet he came to a complete stop, from running and was walking. I will lay money. But somewhere where to coach it, where you can't really see, just 2 quick breaths, 4 or 5 quick steps, and then back at it. But my son was so upset, and this was a chance for them to beat a state-ranked team, and not like ranked, but a team that showed up on the polls. So, instead of beating them, you had 3 teams finish in front of them. You had 1 team finish in front of them that shouldn't have. That was in their flight that they should have beaten, because all these guys were running races they didn't want to run because somebody wanted to get a picture taken. And that's high school sports. That is high school sports in a nutshell, because you don't know what these kids are thinking, and the kid stayed up till 1:30 the night before. So he didn't get a good night's sleep. He didn't get his full rest before that meet. And you could have, 5, 6 other guys, but what's he get? He gets 7th on the team. And if there would have been 8 running, he'd have probably got 8th. I don't know if he ran bad enough to get 9th, but it just goes to show you can't predict as a coach what's going through these kids' minds, what they're feeling like on the day of competition. And these people that come out here and just, here's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and that's it. Or okay, 7, you can go in for 6. Or 6, you can go in for 5. And that's the limit of their coaching abilities. That's a problem. That's a problem from a coaching standpoint. That's a problem from a competitiveness standpoint, because you're gonna lose a lot of games that you may have won had you found that kid who was playing well. Right? Here's a kid who's normally your 6th guy. He was your 3rd best runner to that day. And it happens in other sports. It's just harder to quantify. It's harder to say, well, this person is, the 3rd best, and this one was the 4th, and that one was the 5th. Because they're all running the same course at the same time, same conditions, against the same people. So it's boom, 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 boom. You get what you get. It's easy. Basketball's hard. Volleyball's hard. But if you're watching somebody and they're not hitting the ball, or they're not shooting the ball, or not handling the ball, then it should be easy to make that decision. It's like, well, you ain't got it today, for whatever reason. If you're trying to pose for pictures or whatever it is, you ain't got it today. So that's the lesson from the weekend. I've never seen anything like it. And they ended up finishing 5th as a team, and I think Elijah got 23rd. But he is upset, and I guarantee it ain't gonna happen the rest of the year, because he got really thrown off his race, and he doesn't have many races left. So the lesson, it's always good to learn a lesson. Something happens, you got to learn from it. And what he learned was, He's got to run his race. Somebody wants to run out in front and do something that he can't do, let him. If they can hold it, hey, that's your day. Great race. And you can just pat him on the back and tell him great job. But, the time, the training, the miles he's put in, he knows what he can run, what he can do. And at the end of the day, you have to be content with that. And you get what you get. If you try to run outside of what you can do, you end up with less than what you deserve, really. You do. And that's the same this other kid did. He ended up with less of a spot than what he deserved. If they had all run, their best, that was the worst race that team has ran in 2 years. But if they had run their best race that day, they could have beat a team who was ranked in the top 25 and maybe made a case for themselves to be ranked. But now, they're not going to have that opportunity. Their best shot now is the OVAC conference tournament to win the Ohio side and maybe make some noise there. That's it. But that was crazy. All right, that's all I got for you. I'll talk to you later this week, probably about COVID. Chance to finish up the 6-pack in 30 days tonight. I'm going to try to get through it. All right. Later.